everybody. Welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by Jim Donnan, the former Georgia Bulldogs head coach and the host of the Georgia Watch-Along show. We had 110,000 people join us this past weekend for the Georgia Watch-Along show. Coach was in rare form through rain delays and early start times, but he had a lot of great analysis on the game, called a lot of plays before they happened, gave us great insights into what was going on. And I think a lot of people, even though we had record numbers of people watching, Coach, there are people who may not have seen it, mainly because the streaming games are tough to get a hold of. And, you know, they were dealing with rain and stuff like that. So we want to kind of get your thoughts on this past game and then look ahead to Tennessee. We will, of course, take your questions. If you want to put them in the comments section, we will jump on them. Hopefully Dayne Young will join us later on in the show to make sure that all the technical stuff runs like it's supposed to. But, Coach, a lot of questions at the press conference with Kirby Smart yesterday about Gunnar Stockton. I asked him about the right side of the offensive line, kind of a lot of offensive questions. No one really seems to have a lot of questions about the defense, but I guess it's because, you know, Tennessee's putting up a bunch of crazy numbers with a good quarterback, and I think the fans are just a little nervous, you know, not seeing a whole lot of downfield passing. So just kind of want to get your thoughts on Georgia right now, state of the program, where they're at, and I'll give you the floor.
You know, I'm concerned about the injuries, first of all, because as a coach, you want to have cohesion in your offensive line, and it was pretty much shown there in the first half last week when we decided to start going downfield, and we're playing some guys that either through inexperience or just not that good on the right side, and just weren't able to launch the ball like we needed to. The first quarter really asserted ourselves running the ball, and you know, we want to get that, continue to have that power running game going, but there is a cause of concern based on that game. But also from my standpoint, I've seen it in action over 3 years here with Gunnar. I have no reservation about him throwing the ball down the field or our receivers getting open. It's just a case of doing it against our own team. We got to do it in public there, and it's easy to see why people might question that, but at the same time, there's so many good things going on that I think that sometimes you have a tendency to overlook the fact we played an inordinate amount of young players. We got our kicker back, our punters back ready to go, which will be a weapon for us. Our kicking game continues to be a strong point. And defensively, I think it looks like we've got some guys on the edge that can really attack the edge and protect the edge. And, of course, the linebacker core. It was good to see Everett back, you know, gives a lot of depth there. One of the things going to be questionable this week is who's going to play that slot receiver for UT. I hope Aguero can, but hopefully we can get some questions here, and I won't get the red ass about any of them, and just hope that I'll be patient. But I do feel like that for anybody listening to this that's getting it on here, I've coached 3 number 1 draft choices at quarterback. I've coached about 7 guys that were player of the year in the conference that they were at quarterback. So I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of where a guy can do and what he can't do. And from my perspective, the edge that Gunnar has that we haven't had since Stetson is a guy that can get us out of a bad protection by running and keeping the chains moving. He can keep the ball on the zone read. He can run the option, and he can throw on the move, which we haven't had for the last 2 years. Now, he doesn't have the Tommy gun arm that Beck does or even Ryan has, but everybody doesn't have the same qualities. But he does have the tremendous belief of the other players in the system. If you listen to Kobe Young yesterday, and, you know, they're kind of in a cocoon. Those guys believe in each other. So the only thing I can say is if you want me to give my opinion on this show, I'm going to give it. If you got a different one, that's pretty good, but I'm not very good at going into your business and telling you how to run the accounting business or run a clothing business. I don't know a lot about that, but I do know a lot about quarterbacks. And Gunnar Stockton is a really good quarterback that's going to be big for us this year. Now, whether he's going to be big enough, I can see why you would question that because he's got to do it when the band's playing. But I've seen him do it against our defense. I saw him do it against the 2023 defense, and he's very capable.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him toss the balls against Notre Dame. We've seen him do it in G-Day games against better defense than some of the ones they faced. I've seen him in high school for years. I've seen him do it at Georgia. And I guess I don't think there's so many people that question his ability to do it, Coach, because it's on tape. I think the real question was, why not now? What has changed? And, he came out and said he needed to work on his confidence. And then Kirby made a great point. He's like, we're not giving him time. You need 11 guys around him.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely hit that. I'm going to interrupt that as far as just making this point. The protection was horseshit. I mean, that's the only way to say it. Yeah. In the second quarter, and we used a lot of combinations. Kirby was talking about it. You're playing a guy that's never even played football until 2 years ago, a basketball player starting at right tackle, and he didn't do what he's needed to. So then they put Hughley in, and he did a pretty good job in the second half. But it looked like in the second quarter, after we established that 14-point lead, we were going to try to throw the ball down the field, even though they were off of our guys. But the protection broke down, and we had 2 3-and-outs. So it's easy to be critical of that, which it should be. But the one point that I'll make is Tennessee has a real problem with a running quarterback. You look back over the last couple of years, when they played teams that have guys that can scramble, their pressure package is really not that great because quarterbacks elude it. They're in man coverage and make humongous runs. So I'm real anxious to see how we do. We're going to have to prove it on the field, but I think we've set a really big trap, and there's going to people make a lot of money probably betting on Georgia with this early line going down like it is now. I could be wrong, but I feel good about our shot against them.
I'm with you there. I really wanted to ask Kirby, and I did, about that offensive line, that right side. And it, to me, kind of became a chicken or the egg issue. Was like, is Gunner not trusting his offensive line because they're, like you said, the protection isn't there? Does that cause him to duck out of his progressions faster? Does that make him tuck and run with the ball more? Does that, you've been a quarterback, you've been back there, and you got to know that we're blaming Gunner, but I don't know if it's him or the O-line.
Here's the deal. There's no progressions on a play-action pass. There's no progressions. If it's a drop-back pass, you're going to read the coverage. On a play-action pass, you're either going to throw it deep or throw it short or run. He didn't have a chance to even do anything. So all that stuff is just jargon that you're seeing all these people say and everything. And I told you I wasn't going to be impatient, but there isn't any. There's no reads. You're going back there. You're going for the throat. You're taking a shot. There's shot plays, and when you can't plant your feet and get immediate pressure, you got no chance. But again, I'm gonna go over one really salient factor. I think I watched the pros on Sunday. We had 3 offensive linemen starting in the NFL. Now that's good news and bad news, but it's bad news for us because all 3 of them had situations where they were hurt last year. Tate Ratledge was out. Wilson was out. Fairchild was out. We never got any really good momentum there in our offensive line. We saw a guy catch 7 or 8 passes last week in Colby Young. He only played the first couple games. We lost him and Ra Thomas. You take those 5 guys off our team last year, and we still won the SEC. So we maneuvered around all that stuff, but we had some really issues there that, regardless of how you look at it, it's hard to really be cohesive as a team when you have those kind of situations. And that's what's happened so far this year. A right guard goes out early. Juan Gaston, who is among the better young players I've seen there. And then Green, who's had a really good career but had back troubles, has been out too. So you take 2 of your starters off of any team who's trying to build an offensive line, you're going to have trouble with that. But the one thing that we wanted in the offseason, though, was we wanted physicality. We wanted to be able to run the football. And we really have run it very effectively against lesser talent, that's for sure. So it's kind of a real funky situation. Our running game is probably a little ahead where we thought it would be. Our passing game is not because of the protection. It's obvious we got the receivers. We brought in really good guy in Zachariah. We got Thomas that's going to help us. And then these freshman guys look pretty good too on top of the ones we got going back, and haven't even hardly used the tight ends because of the way some of the reads are on drop back passes. So I feel this team is laying in the weeds. I mean, we got them right where we want them.
Now, you know far more than I do. That's why we love asking you questions about it, because, well, it's like last week when everyone was talking about, well, he stares down a receiver, and you're like, well, that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to see where the coverage is. And
well, he's going to stare down a receiver on a play action pass. That's no question about it.
Yeah, but again, people will take that as what he does in everything, and it's like, no, that's where he's supposed to go.
Two type of reads here. If you're running a show pass where everybody in the stadium knows that you're dropping back, then you need to look off the defensive backs because they see it's a pass right off the bat. They key to guard, they see it's a pass. So you need to read wherever your coverage is and then go through the progressions, high to low, outside the end, all that. But on a play action pass, you're counting on the fact that the guy's going to take a bad step, free safety, or the corner's going to be looking in, or you're going to run a double move, or you're going to run a deep cross. So you want to get your head and eyes toward your target because you don't want to be looking somebody off trying to be funky when you can't see him and then he breaks open. You know where he's going. There's not a lot of fake involved as far as the secondary. You've already faked him with the play action part. So you're definitely going to stare him down.
I'm just saying people translate him staring it down on a play action to, well, he's not going through his progressions, not realizing that he's not supposed to on that play. I make that mistake. We conflate the wrong plays with the actions of the quarterback. So
yeah, and I can see why anybody would say that because you're just overwhelmed with information here. I mean, all you got to do is cut on all these podcasts and these all these authorities here that some of these people have played sports, and it's okay if you didn't. I hadn't got anything against people that commentate on like Ryan Clark did on that guy. I thought that was very distasteful to say that, but the reality is hopefully you watch this show and listen to me because I got a pretty good feel for what's going on. But I do, some people have said, that I have a tendency to be too much of a homer and not be critical. I'm going to be critical when I need to be, but I really do feel for Stacy Searles, who put a pretty good unit together here in the preseason. They were really going. If you read what people say about those scrimmages, and I didn't say a lot about the scrimmages because I didn't want to say it because it wasn't my role to talk about it because I went, and I don't think that's something I should say. But I went to both of them, and I was really impressed with our offensive line. I was impressed with our defensive line, too, the way they were able to attack and everything. But from my perspective, to have the youth on this team and have the question marks that we have after 2 games, my biggest concern is injuries. And if we can get Gaston and Green back, I feel really good about our game this week.
Now, you were the first person to mention this, and it was during the preseason. You were just mentioned, because we always ask you, Coach, who's going to be the guy? Who's going to be your mouth-watering guy? Who's that breakout player? And you always say, well, let me see a game or two, and I'll come back. But you did mention Juan Gaston, and you mentioned Dontrell Glover. And I've got to be honest, for a minute there in the summer, I say something. Let's say first week of August, when the guys show up, and thinking it's felt like the entire freshman class had arrived mid-year. But he was one of the guys that didn't show up early. And I'm thinking there's no way a Dontrell Glover who arrives in summer, didn't get spring, didn't get all those summer workouts, and he's like the 5th or 6th offensive lineman Georgia brought in that class, could do something. But I thought Dontrell Glover, for a true freshman coach, played pretty damn good.
Yeah, the first scrimmage, they always give me a couple guys to look at just from my perspective, what I think of him. And that was 163. And I was amazed. He can play center too. And we have actually 3 freshmen that are playing significant roles in the O-line, along with Cortez Smith at center and Juan Gaston. And this guy, Glover's just nasty. I mean, good athlete, weighs over 300 pounds, can move his feet. And our left side really looks good. Micah March has got that club off his hand. Freeling's playing good, and Bobo's making some plays in the open field. Usually when you have defensive fronts, the guy that's uncovered usually pulls, but it's hard for a center to pull because you got to snap it in the shotgun and then get out in the perimeter. But he's showing some real athleticism to be able to. The guard will block back or whatever it might be, and then he'll pull. A really good looking athlete in the open field, and he's doing a great job making the calls too.
He killed the cornerback, coach. I feel bad for that cornerback. That's not fair.
Right, he did.
Poor kid. So again, we could talk about downfield passing, but it's like you always say, we look at what we don't have versus what we do. I thought Georgia was running the ball a great clip, and got a lot of grief because in that first quarter, I just mentioned on Twitter, 2 screen passes. They were playing 10, 12, 14 yards off of Colby Young, and Gunner saw it, turned and threw it to him in the flat, and he picked up between 2 receivers, they picked up a 13 yards and 17 yards on back-to-back plays.
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing about screens, and people used to bust me about tunnel screens, but here's the thing you want to do. Your screens, your draws, and your delays are for one thing, to affect the pass rush. If you're having trouble with the team rushing you, you don't need to go back there and try to throw the ball down the field and get sacked. You need to incorporate the rush and get them to start worrying about, are we going to throw a screen? Are we going to run a draw? And then maybe get that hesitancy in their rush where you don't just get guys just torpedoing you in. So they really play a strong part in your passing game. It's a big element. We spend 10 minutes a day just screen, draw, and delay period where you work on different ways to affect the pass rush. Plus, it's an easier way to get it to somebody where the coverage really doesn't dictate it. So if you want to throw the ball to a back, you can run a screen to him. Or if you want to throw to a receiver, you can hit him with a one-step screen or come underneath. So there's a lot of different elements involved in that, but I really have a hard time worrying about, from my perspective, if we're doing too much of one thing. If it's working, take it. One of your credos as a coach is take what the defense gives you. If they're off of you, throw it in front of them. If they're playing you tight, throw it over the top. So that's a pretty good way to look at it myself.
I did like the back-to-back plays to Cash Jones on that drive down to the goal line. The
check down, that's good. Cash,
that zipped him down the field. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not sexy, but give me a throw to Cash Jones, and he moves the chains, and I'll take it. So
yeah, I'm like Kirby though. I mean, you got to be able to punch it in down there. There was a lot of different ways that looked at from the standpoint of timeouts, and you had to throw it a couple of times because if you did run it and didn't make it, you wouldn't get another shot at it. But should have punched it in on the first run by 3. He had it in there, but for some reason he didn't. And then the one ball was a little bit behind Cash, but he'll learn. If you're running like that, you need to stop and catch it. Don't keep running. And then the other was a tough catch, went through the other guy's hands. But another thing was just the day was kind of screwy. Moving the game up an hour, playing a team you're supposed to beat, then having a 2-hour delay, and the whole thing was kind of convoluted. And then we lose Barbour to a tough injury, kind of like Rosemary St. Jack had surgery yesterday, and hopefully he's going to come back and be 100% next year.
Okay. Kirby had mentioned that he would need surgery, so he's already had it. So that's – and Rosemary actually, I think he was – I don't say he was ready for the bowl game, but I think he was like on the sidelines by the end. Well, no. I take that back because his happened in Florida, but I just remember him coming back and being very excited. He had quite the career with Georgia. So
can you give a couple of those commercials? I got somebody at my door here. The guy's delivering it.
All right, we're going to let Coach go here. I want to mention a new sponsor real quick, and this is I'm very, very excited about this. This is called Darden's Delights, and this is owned by two proud UGA graduates and Big Dog fans, Betsy and David Glass. Their youngest daughter is now a freshman at UGA this year, and Betsy loves listening to podcasts while she's baking. So while she's baking these pies, and Darden's Delights is a pie company, she's listening to the show. So shout out to Betsy and, of course, the whole Glass family. This is an Atlanta-based company, and they have shipped to all 50 states, and they send unique sweet flavored pies. They make a fudge pie, a lemon chess pie, a chocolate chip cookie pie, which I'm really excited about. The peanut butter cup pie, I gotta try that. We would have said, look, send us pies first before we do the advertisement. But when they reached out to us, it was right before Labor Day, and they were slammed with orders because they do a lot of shipping, and they do a lot of corporate events. These are great for gatherings, holidays, birthdays, client gifts, neighborhood gifts, event favors, fundraisers, and they'll take care of your client list. If you got a bunch of people you're trying to impress, send them pies, and either from 10 to 200, they got you covered. So all the pies are baked, and then they're frozen. They handle all the packaging, the shipping, and they will make sure that you get the message to them that you like. It's really kind of like hitting the easy button. So look up Darden's Delights. Okay. And there's a reason it's called Darden's Delights, because their daughter, Darden, she has Down syndrome. They made these like 3 fudge pies at a fundraiser. And it was at that fundraiser, people loved the pies, started asking, Betsy, hey, can we buy these from you? And she was onto something. And they take a slice, excuse the pun, I don't like puns. They take a slice of the proceeds and give them back to groups that work with folks that have developmental disabilities, like my nephew. So I'm just saying, it is Georgia fans, Georgia alums with a daughter here at UGA who are baking pies for everyone, and they give back to their community and help people who have developmental disabilities. So go to dardensdelights.com, www.dardens delights.com. Or you can email them at darden@dardensdelights.com, 404-973-9760. You can check them out there. And I got to tell you, I love having a pie sponsor. I'm very, very, very excited about bringing them on. Check them out. Good thing for Quist. Got to support your own, especially if you like pie. So amen to that. All right, Coach, I'm going to mention our other sponsors here in a bit, but I did want to have a special welcome to Betsy Glass and the Darden's Delights folks. And I'll put their comment section, their website in the comment section, so you folks can go click on it here. All right, Coach, I was very excited about Georgia's run game because, remember, we spent weeks all spring camp, then fall camp. When we talked to the coaches, we asked Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, Glenn Schumann, defensive coordinator, what's your goal for the year? Both of them said basically a variation of run the ball, stop the run. Be better on third down. Georgia's running the ball and stopping the ball. And I was thinking about the second-year guys. Those 3 running backs came in together, Coach, when you had Dwight Phillips, Nate Frazier, and Chauncey Bowens. Those guys are picking up like 5 yards a carry this past Saturday. And then Catherine Skeen got a great picture of Chris Cole, Justin Williams, and Joseph Jonah Ajonye. And I'm like, these year 2 guys, there's a lot to be excited about on both sides of the ball. And I'm not taking anything away from the upperclassmen. I'm just saying that if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm kind of excited about Georgia's running backs and those linebackers and the instant impact some of the new guys have had on the offensive and defensive lines. But I'm like, okay, you should be excited about this team, when the future of the team. I know you can get caught up like people do about quarterbacks and offensive lines, but I'm like, yeah, there's 22 other guys, Coach. So give me your thoughts on the running backs and those linebackers.
Yeah, I'm really Peanut in particular is up to 182 pounds. It doesn't sound real big, but came in like 160. And he's got world-class speed. His dad was an Olympic guy that won, the long jump, and his mother was a track star at Kentucky too. So definitely got some good genes there. But I think his speed and quickness really gives you a chance to attack the perimeter and hit the home run ball. And then, of course, Bowens is a powerful guy that can run between the tackles and has got a little bit of elusiveness too, and has had some success early on here. And we know what Frazier's capabilities are. He's just got to go on and break some long runs. That's tough to get that one fumble, but Derrick Henry fumbled the other night. I mean, it happens. People are trying to grab the ball, and you just gotta. We've been very fortunate here. We've been very good about protecting the ball, and I would point out this other thing too, that kind of listening to everybody get on Napier yesterday, which I can understand watching that situation. But the four major rivals that we have here since Kirby's been the coach have all had three coaches. They're on their third coach at every place. So, and 20-20, that's what Florida is. Georgia Tech's coming around a little bit. Tennessee definitely coming around. And Auburn, we'll wait and see. But, he's dominated them in so many ways. The last 6 games against Tennessee has been by 10 points or more. So, in spite of some of the things that aren't going quite as good as we hope, it's been an unbelievable run as far as just getting after your rivals and doing what you need to do. But I wanted to get that point across. But I think it's just a case with the linebacker core there. Just so many athletes there, and they really just kind of complement each other, and they're fresh. But you have a tendency not to talk about CJ and Raylan because they're playing so good. But
exactly, I don't want to take anything away from them, Coach. I mean,
but you see,
given.
You see Williams and Cole, and they just got that athleticism and big, strong, physical guys. And you know what? It's going to be Tennessee gives you some problems now. We always have trouble adjusting their speed of getting the plays off because they really, line up so quickly after a successful play and get the next one in. But the big key against them is first down. If they don't make a lot of yardage on first down, they're not a great pass protecting team. They're more RPO type guys, and you can get pressure on them. So we'll talk about keys to that game, but certainly those players you're talking about are great additions to the Bulldog team.
Yeah, this was you always talk me off the ledge sometimes when I get overly pessimistic. And I was kind of frustrated after that game Saturday, not because of what everybody else was, but I was just disappointed that London Humphreys and Nate Frazier put the ball on the ground. I'm just like, I know, and to your point, I know how hard the coaches work on making sure they don't do that. But if I'm Mike Bobo or I'm Kirby Smart or I'm Glenn Schumann, I'm pulling my hair out going, damn it, come on, man. This is what we can control. And it just
I don't think you can control. How can you control a fumble?
Don't have it.
I mean, everybody out there is trying to get the ball from you, and
it's just that I guess that drove me crazier than anything because I mean that Georgia every time it seemed like it had the ball was driving pretty well, and when they turned it over twice, and I'm like, damn it, man, this is.
Yeah. What happens is when you aren't operating on the level you want to, and you're starting to get a little rhythm, and then that happens, it really kind of pokes a hole in the whole situation and gives the other team a lot of juice too. I mean, because field position and everything. And the one thing that was evident, their team believed in each other enough that they weren't just coming in here and be cannon fodder. I mean, they had a good quarterback. He made good decisions. He took care of the ball. What usually happens when you outman a team is they start making turnovers. They're sloppy with penalties. Their kicking game breaks down. You get some cheap scores and it becomes a runaway. None of that happened. They didn't help us at all from that standpoint. And then we lose the offensive line situation on top of the fact that we had those turnovers. And that's bottom line. That's what ended up being the game.
What did you think about Bo Hughley? Kind of going back to the offensive line here, just because of what you mentioned there. I thought that second half was a lot better with him in there.
I thought Bo came in, was very steady, didn't have anything really that stood out where he got beaten on the edge and the guy was in Gunner's face. But, he's a guy that's been around here, has played, has worked to get in this position, and it's obvious that his experience helped him. And but, that's a tough situation for Jock coming in here, being a starter after, only playing football for 2 years. And, I'm not sure what the situation is with Calhoun, but obviously he's a guy that has some ability. Hopefully he can come back and with Green's situation and also with Juan's, if something happened, Green couldn't play and Juan could, I could see Gaston playing tackle and Glover playing guard. I mean, we'll have to see what'll happen there.
That would be really interesting, the whole right side being true freshman. But I think, I don't know, I think Green comes back faster than Gaston. That's just a guess on my part. And that's not based on any insider information, but just the stiffness in the back, it seems easier to do. But when we saw Gaston with the the knee brace and the ankle brace and stuff like that, I'm like, there's a lot of weight on an ankle, coach.
That's more for protection right now. Well, we'll see, but I know this, that he's definitely from my perspective, we hadn't had many guys like that around here, and I'm talking about 25 years. We hadn't had many guys like Juan Gaston.
No, he's something different, and I got to eat a lot of crow because I didn't think he's going to be that good. So, and I will enjoy it because he's fun to watch.
Well, he had a lot of baby fat when you were looking at him, and he's growing up.
That's a kind way of putting it, coach. He had like I do. I also want to point out Colby Young. I'm thinking that is a guy who 7 catches for him. He leads the team in receptions. He hurdled a guy, coach. He actually jumped over a player at 6'4", 215 pounds. I think Colby could be really special this year.
Yeah, he gives you that extra element there on the edge, kind of like Tampa Bay has a guy out on the edge, 13, that's just a great player. You watch these pros, ex-receiver, the guy into the boundary that can make the contested catch, can block the perimeter, and we got him and Thomas both that are both good at that. And then, Bell has not done that much so far, but 2 years ago up there, he threw a touchdown pass, he caught one, he made a lot of good catches, and I still think he's going to have a big year for us too.
I love it. All right. Any other thoughts about that game Saturday before we look ahead to Tennessee?
No, this is what I'm going to say. FIDO. Forget it and drive on.
Okay. I got you. All right. I'm going to mention our other 2 sponsors, Coach. I'm going to set you out here, and we're going to come back in just a minute, and we'll start talking Georgia versus Tennessee because I do have some questions there I want to ask you. All right. I want to mention our friends over at Athens Ford real quick. I went out there yesterday. I told folks in the watch along that I need to get a vehicle for my aunt. She's 86 years old. She wants to keep driving this old Mazda MPV that is it's not good for her to drive anymore. It's over 20 years old. No rear view camera, stuff like that. I need to get her into a new vehicle. She still drives at age 86, and she's like my mother. I love this woman to death, and I moved her closer to me, so she's only 15 minutes away, but she wants a better vehicle to drive, and I finally got her out of that Mazda, and I went to our friends at Athens Ford, said, look, we have a special situation. We have a woman who's 4'10", 86 years old. Her issue is getting in and out of vehicles. So what can you do? And we looked at all the different vehicles, and they're like, okay, here's the car we need. This will be the easiest for her to get in and out of. Now let's find you one. So I'm just saying the customized car experience out at Athens Ford is beyond the pale. They brought in 3 or 4 different people to help. I mean, it wasn't just me going up to a salesman and him trying to sell me a car. I'm talking to Brian, the GM. I'm talking to Henry, the used car manager. I'm talking to salesman. They're bringing in other guys. Hey, what do you think? What do you think? And it's a phenomenal experience. A few people there had no idea who I was, didn't know that I was a sponsor. That they sponsored my show. Brian, of course, did. But and he didn't come up and go, hey, take care of this guy because he does my show. He's like, y'all take care of him because he's got this woman who's basically his mother needs help. So I'm just saying, if you are looking for someone to take care of you, reach out to Athens Ford. You will not be disappointed in the slightest. It's just who they are. It's what they do. I can't say enough about them. Also want to mention our friends at myperfectfranchise.net, because let's just say that you want a new job. You want to get out of this, get out of the rat race. You don't want to be forced to work for someone else. You're like, well, I got a mortgage. I can't leave what I'm doing, but I hate this place. Well, going out on your own is terrifying. I remember when I left the job I had, I was doing all my Georgia coverage on the side. I had a full-time job. When I left it, I was petrified, but you don't have to be scared. Reach out to myperfectfranchise.net. Andy Ludecki and the folks there will get you squared away. They're like, what do you want to do? What are your goals? Do you want to work out of the home? Do you want to do this on the part-time? Do you want to do it full-time? What do you want to do? And they can narrow it down. Again, like when I was looking for cars, there's the millions of cars out there. There's 3,000 different franchises out there. It helps to have a professional help you narrow it down. So try that. You'll be glad you did so. Oh, and I wanted to lastly show you the check out the pies. There they are. All right, remember, dardansdelights.com. Check them out. All right, Coach. Tennessee looks really good. They've had they beat Syracuse, which a lot of people thought Syracuse was like Syracuse of last year, and then they beat East Tennessee State. They throwed up a ton of numbers. They're ranked. They look really good. A lot of Georgia folks are scared. The line came out at 7. It dropped to, last I saw, was 3.5. So give me kind of a preview of Tennessee. Is Tennessee great? Are they fantastic? What are we looking at?
They got a solid team. I mean, quarterback gives them a chance just because he's very astute at reading defenses and getting the ball to the right people. Their running game is starting to mesh. But, Syracuse, first of all, lost a lot of players, 3 guys to the pros on defense. And, Syracuse passed for like almost 400 yards on them and scored 30 points. So I feel like that defensively, without their 2 corners, they had 1 corner get hurt last year that had ACL injury I think in the playoff game, and he's out, and then another corner. So they're playing with their 2 second corners, so that's going to be difficult. And they lost some guys to the draft, and they lost a good back. But they got a solid team. I don't know that they're and we're going to probably play teams at least as good as them. I don't want to take anything away from them, but we just got to take care of business, protect the ball, and I think we got a really good shot at going up there and getting after them.
They spread you out. Welcome to the show, Dayne. Tennessee spreads you out, Coach, and then they can gash you, and they go so fast. How do you handle that? I don't want to say it's unique because you've seen everything. I don't want to say that they're the only ones that do it, but it's not. I don't think that Georgia sees that style of play a whole lot.
Yeah, one of the things we do in the off season here, spring practice, fall camp, and all is practice to speed up stuff. And the biggest thing is get the organization of getting your play call in, and making sure that you don't make a mental error that gives you a big mistake that gives them an easy score. Not lining up right or not getting the call can be just as bad as getting beat by a guy. So you need to know what to do and then execute it. So the communication is number one, and then on top of that, you try to simulate the crowd noise with. We go into the facility there and cut the speakers on real high, but there's no way to really simulate that 100,000 people. So you just got to work on different ways to get the play in on defense. But the one thing that helps you now is the communication with the headset with Schumann to the linebackers and Bobo to the quarterback. So you got that. But on defense, it hurts you a little bit because they're getting their play in so quickly. So, but you can get it better word of mouth than you can a signal. So let's just say they just hit a 10-yard run play and they're getting ready to line up quick. Instead of having to get the signal in and do all that, he can say right off the bat, hey, let's run mint cover 2. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and the linebacker hollers it out and get it. So that part helps out. But just the organizational part of it is one thing. And then just the conditioning too, because they're going so fast. You don't get to sub as much. So your players that are in the game on defense probably need to run more plays than they normally do because they won't sub.
Do you run smaller against this team? Do you leave out the Jordan Halls and the
no, I think
Gerardos?
I think you just go with your best guys, and then you can sub when they sub. So you look for those situations. But you know, if all of a sudden the play's over there near our sideline, then you can run somebody up there. But we got that down pretty well, and we practice the heck out of it. So we look like, to me, we can handle that pretty well. But it's always an adjustment the first part of the game. You know, the last 4 or 5 times Tennessee scored first against us. You know, and part of that's just getting lined up right.
Coach, I think this is an interesting comment from Foster Moss. He says Tennessee won't be able to stop a Parton bus when they get in conference play. We can talk about, you know, Aguilar and the fast. When we talk about Tennessee, we usually talk about their offense, the unique style they do, the speed, the quarterback play. They spread you out, then they hit you with the runs. It's great play calling. I like it. But what about Tennessee's defense? Because, I mean, even Syracuse isn't that great, but they scored some points on them.
Yeah, they're more of a pressure defense, you know, really like to bring people off the edge and get you behind the sticks and then, you know, play some sophisticated coverage. Willie Martinez, guy used to be here as a secondary coach. Rodney Garner is a line coach that was here for a long time. So they know about Georgia, that's for sure. But as far as the offense, one thing I'll comment on to make sure everybody understands, this is kind of a hybrid of the Baylor offense that Art Briles ran for so long, where it used to be, you know, when people would line up receivers really close to the sideline and the ball's on the left hash and the guy's on the sideline on the right, almost out of bounds, you never worried about it because nobody's going to throw the ball horizontally and vertically that far in the air. But Art Briles came up with this plan where they use those wide receivers to spread you out. But they started, instead of running RPOs off of the linebackers, they run them off the safeties. So if the safety takes a bad step, they're going to throw the ball deep on you. Or if he doesn't, they'll go ahead and run it if the front looks like it. And they also use the quick pace stuff on that. And some of the things that you're seeing in our league, Mississippi State, Levy, the coach there, has some ties to Briles. He married his daughter. I don't know how much football she knows, but they run that stuff. And then,
I'd say that's some ties.
And then Coach, of course, Coach Kiffin runs a lot of it because of he had Levy there as his coordinator before he left and went to Oklahoma. So we're seeing at least 3 teams in our league run that: Tennessee and also Mississippi State and Oklahoma to a certain extent, and then Ole Miss. So we're seeing a lot of that week in and week out in our league. But defensively, they do believe in pressuring the quarterback.
Radi, I had 3 things I want to mention since I jumped in here late. So there's a chance y'all touched on these, but I'm going to hop them in anyway because when we get to our watch-along show, I do think that these things could potentially matter. One, in the 4 games that Georgia has played under Josh Heupel coach Tennessee teams, Georgia has won that series relatively easily. I know, Coach, you're right that Tennessee has scored early. However, Georgia quarterbacks, 2 years of Stetson Bennett, 2 years of Carson Beck, no interceptions in the last 4 years against Tennessee. And whatever people want to say about Gunnar Stockton, he's not putting the ball in harm's way. And that's step number 1 of how to beat these guys, because Georgia has had pretty good luck in the turnover battle against them. When you're on the road, cohesion matters. We talked about this all offseason. Drew Bobo at center, Mike Bobo as play caller, Gunnar Stockton behind center. You're not going to find better cohesion throughout the country of people that know each other better and can anticipate better. That shows up on road games like this. And I suspect y'all were chatting about this, but as much as Fran Brown loves Kirby Smart, you got to think those phone calls have happened. How'd that go against Tennessee? What'd you see? What can we exploit?
Yeah, I mean, and there's other guys that play for us that are up there and probably talked to our players and talked about them. I know I've talked to a couple guys that have association with us that were in the game, and they felt like that Syracuse missed some opportunities, but they did feel like the quarterback was a difference maker for them. But the general consensus was that this Tennessee team maybe not quite as good on defense as the one we played the last couple of years.
Very, very fair. I mean, they have a heck of a defense. Right now, I guess we're all talking about the offense. Coach, what are you going to do with your safeties? If they're watching the safety to make sure, is he coming up? Is he staying back? I'm very confident in KJ Bolden, but
that's been a bone of contention as far as somebody establish himself. I mean, we played 2 or 3 guys back there, and we'll just have to see. But the number one coverage guy against them, you want to use a lot of different ways to attack their formation, but we've had really good success playing their slot receiver because the corners are going to play man, some type of man or some type of read coverage there where they combo the corner with the safety. But being able to play the slot man to man is hard for a safety sometimes. So I feel like Aguero has made a lot of progress there. I don't know how good he is on the pure man coverage. Bullard wasn't that great on it, but he was good at playing the run and all that. But I think the combination of the strong safety, and the star is going to be important. Is it going to be Maddox? Is it going to be Ja'Cory Thomas? Who's it going to be coupled with Aguero playing that slot receiver?
What do you think about taking your third corner? Maybe your Ellis Robinson or Daniel Harris plays that spot.
You can do that sometime in nickel and dime. I mean, I could see us going dime and putting Aguero over on one side and putting one of those other guys in. That would be something you could use, yeah.
Okay.
Roddy, I also think there's just a general focus that this team will likely have against Tennessee that's harder to achieve in those first 2 weeks when you know what that schedule is. We've heard Kirby talk about this when you have a really strong opening game opponent, Clemson, Oregon in previous years, that you can really focus in on that, know that the world's watching. There's an energy that comes with that. Not that you need fake juice or anything, but there is no fake juice when you go to Knoxville.
Yeah, that's a good point. In his conference game, first game, now you got game day there. But I would say this. I thought we really played well the first game. I mean, any way you look at it, it didn't have too much slopping around. But all the things involved, the early start, then the delay, losing the lineman, everything, the bad situation on the goal line, it all coupled into having not a real good taste in your mouth after that game. But if I hadn't seen them scrimmage the two times, I'd probably be on the cliff like some of these people. But that's really indelible in my mind. I just know what we're capable of, and I feel good about it. And Radi, I didn't tell you the truth, but I didn't lie about telling you that going to the scrimmage. But I would have.
I was gonna bust you up after this, going, "You went, you jerk! You could have told me stuff." I know you never do. That's fine.
If I'd have told you, you'd have been trying to pry it out of me, and I
would have. That's okay. Now, I never want to. I know you have access that is accorded to you because of your tenure at the university, and I would never put you in a position where you had to.
Yeah, I just can't. I try
get information on your mentorees, so that's not fair for you. And I never begrudge it, Coach. I really don't. So
I try to be fair to the fans here and say what I can, but it really isn't fair to the team to say something about what happened at practice. But I can say after the fact here that hopefully people are listening will believe me that I feel good about it.
Exactly. I mean, you've been there, you've seen it. Folks, if you missed the watch along, I mean, Coach Donnan knows his team pretty damn well because there are numerous times he's like, well, this is going to be a toss to the left side. This is going to be a throw into the boundary. And when he sees the formation, he sees the defense, he sees the coverage, he knows what Georgia likes to do there, and he nails it. So,
well, in this game specifically, sorry, Roddy, go ahead.
If we're comparing credentials, I mean, myself and all the people that like to second guess the coaches and the players, and we do film reviews. We got a great one. We got a great film, Don't Lie, at UGASports right now. If you go to the DawgVent, you have to be a member of the DawgVent to see it. We're all doing this after the play. Coach is telling us what's going to happen before the play. So I'm just saying, I would take his word over anybody else's. And, James Carraway was saying, hey, all these other guys are saying the opposite. I'm like, that's their –
well, here's another thing.
But I'm just saying Coach sees this stuff happen before it does because, he's been in that coach's box upstairs calling plays for 40 years. So
here's the one thing that, I thought Chase Daniels did a good job, but it's easy to get that telestrator after the fact and show who's open and why when they throw that. But you got to look at where the quarterback is. If the quarterback's running to his left and got to throw the ball, he's not going to be able to throw it back across the field or if all of a sudden he gets knocked out of his protection as scrambling, he's not going to see those guys. So it's easy to point out this guy was wide open. Why didn't you throw it to him and all that? But realistically, a lot of it has to do with what the protection ends up being. And we've already gone over it. Dayne missed it, but just really poor in the second quarter, really poor protection.
Coach, I've learned a lot about football and how coaches look at things and how it's different from what, fans tend to see from sitting beside you in this watch-along show. This week in particular, Georgia versus Tennessee with these coaches is probably when I get, other than playoff time, as excited for a watch-along show. Because not only do I know what you know about Kirby Smart and how he runs a program, but your ties to Oklahoma, seeing Josh Heupel come up to be a quarterback under that, then coach for them, and then follow his career a little bit too. I just don't think there's many people out there that will have as much expertise about how Kirby Smart got to this point, how Josh Heupel got to this point, and what that means for when these two teams play.
Yeah, here's the thing. They're both really good players in college. Storied careers as athletes and then have gone different paths to get to be a head coach. Josh was kind of the fair-haired boy there at Oklahoma. He married one of the administrator's wife, became his wife, the daughter of one of the administrators. And early on there under Coach Stoops, they really had it rolling. And then all of a sudden things didn't work well. And they had to make a decision. They brought in Lincoln Riley, and he got terminated. So he had to kind of redirect his career. His background, he played junior college ball out in Utah. So he went out to Utah State, coached a couple years and sucked it up and did pretty well. And then all of a sudden he got a job in Missouri and came in and did a terrific job helping Missouri. They just didn't have much defense. And then all of a sudden he got that head job at Central Florida and goes down there and lights it up and then gets a Tennessee job. Whereas, Kirby, started out at Valdosta and then moved on up to GA at Florida State and then kind of moved around and then got on with Nick and the rest is history. But they both have paid their dues and both of them were coaches' sons and have a similar background. And both of them are competitors. And as a defensive coach, you like to go against these offensive gurus and prove your package is better, what you do against them. And the offensive guy wants to challenge these and really Kirby's kind of been a nemesis for Heupel. There's no way to look at it but that. He's the most points he scored on is 17, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Somebody pointed that out in the chat there. I'm going to do the SEC real quick. We just have a minute, Coach. Your thoughts on what's going on in Florida? That kind of caught my attention, the losing the Bulls.
Well, we had a chance to watch that, and some of the things you want to do as a coach is rectify the things that were happening to you in the past, and that's been a nemesis for them. Too many men on the field, not enough men on the field, ineffective use of timeouts, bad play calling, whatever it might be. Some of these guys made a decision on play calling. Norvell gave it up to a certain extent. He had a coordinator, and he brought in Gus Malzahn to call the plays. And it's worked out well so far. But, I think Billy feels like he's the best guy to call the plays. And I've said this numerous times on this show, and one of the things I try to do is not criticize coaches as much as just talk about facts. But I do think he has some weaknesses on his staff. He has some guys there to me that just aren't SEC caliber coaches, and it shows during the game. The adjustments they make, some of the problems they have, and this bad use of the clock. There at the end of the game, they had to get a first down. They had 2 minutes and 47 seconds to go, and they ran 3 plays and used up 17 seconds. 2 of them were passes. Now the third down pass, there's no way I would try to throw a fade right there. I mean, you got to make a first down. You make a first down, you run the clock out. They only had 1 timeout left, but he throws a deep ball. And then everybody in America that's a football fan saw Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago when Carter spit on the guy, and you tell your team, there's no way you can do something like that. And lo and behold, with like 2 minutes to go in the game, a Florida Gator guy spits on a USF Bull guy, and they get 15 yards. And then the next play, they hit a big play on him and take it down and kick the field goal. But you got to give the guy credit, though. I mean, the coach at USF, they've beaten Boise, and now they've beaten Florida. They go against Miami this week, and this guy's going to get a big job. I mean, he's doing a good job, and he runs the Tennessee offense. He's been under Coach Heupel, so
Alex Golish.
But I just think Florida at 20-20 with the schedule they got left. I mean, we could play living on Tulsa time for Billy Napier.
I love it.
I want to quickly ask too, Coach. Vandy at South Carolina, to me, is as intriguing as any game in the country other than Georgia and Tennessee, because Vandy's second half against Virginia Tech was spectacular.
Yeah, Vandy was a human highlight reel the second half. I watched that tape yesterday, and they really know what they're doing. As an offensive coach, you want to look at a team scheme, how they use their personnel, and how they get to certain things. They really set things up complementary, that one thing leads to another. They got a running quarterback who's an adequate thrower, maybe a little bit better, but a physically tough, gifted guy that can make yards after contact and make first downs, but he's quick enough to get the ball on the perimeter, but he can dish it off on the option. They got some speed to run reverses with, and they do a really good job with their power running game. And defensively, they're just good enough to make you work at it. The one thing about South Carolina that really kind of makes me wonder what's going on, they lost all those guys on defense to the pros and some to the portal, and that was the big question mark. They were talking about they got this great quarterback coming back who I like, Sellers, and he's going to be the face of the program. But through 2 games, it's exactly opposite. Their defense has been carrying them. Their special teams, they've had some kick returns. Offense has not done anything at all, really. I mean, he's not even – I don't think he's had he had a pretty good game against Virginia Tech on that first drive and then maybe at the end of the game, but exact opposite for this team. So they got to show up. It's at South Carolina. It's going to be a big game, but Vandy right now is more impressive at this point with their offense.
I just want you to memorize that sentence that we are talking about Vandy being, and again, I'm happy for him. Love Pavia. Love that. Love to see the underdog do well.
It's the whole SEC right now, Roddy, because Kentucky played better than expected against Ole Miss. Mississippi State just beat the Big 12 champion from last year. This is a deep conference, and every week is going to be treacherous.
I'm just saying, it's as much as we complain about NIL and the transfer portal, the fact that Syracuse was really good last year. We were talked about Illinois and Arizona State. Beating them was a big deal, whereas the past that didn't matter. And Vandy's doing well. I'm just.
Well, even Auburn. I mean, Auburn.
Traditionally, they're good, though, Coach.
Auburn Auburn hadn't screwed it up to this point.
Yeah, that's very fair. So I'm just saying, college football. People have talked about the death of college football because of the transfer portal and NIL, and I'm like, I don't think it's ever been more popular. I really don't.
And what you're going to see right now is all of a sudden Oklahoma, regardless of how I feel about it, is definitely a team with that quarterback and that defense. It's going to be reckoned with, but every team that they play from now on is ranked in the top 20 in the SEC. As conversely, Missouri and UT have a schedule that unbelievable. I mean, everybody would kill for their schedule. So Missouri's quarterback's impressive, though. I mean, you can see why they went after him.
I will tell you that my number one story that I'm looking to see is when they announce the 2026 and 2027 schedules. Because remember, this is the SEC schedule that we're in right now. This is year 2. Basically, they came out with the 2024 and said, hey, 2025 will be the same schedule, just inverse as to who plays home and away. Texas got that fantastic schedule. Missouri got a good one. Georgia, Florida got hosed really badly. Some of these teams, Oklahoma got killed. And I'm like, okay, now let's see the next 2 years. Let's see what happens there. And I'm very much anticipating that schedule release, that story, because I want to be like, you told us that it's all cyclical. Well, let's be sure it's cyclical when it rolls around for the next batch of games. So we'll see. Anyway, folks, that's all the time we have for this week's show. We really appreciate all of you.
Any questions or what's the deal?
We ran out of time. I talk too much, Coach.
I got a joke if you want it, Coach.
What's that?
I got a joke if you want it.
All right, let me hear it.
All right. So my grandmother passed away pretty recently, and it was surprising to the whole family because she'd never done that before. And she was in a nursing home, and I don't know if you've heard of this before, but sometimes people can tell you, this is it. I'm going to die today. And she was telling people at the nursing home that, and sure enough, she had her favorite breakfast, and she played some games with her friends for the last time. And that was her time to go. Went back to her room for 357 Magnum right in the head. And that was it. How'd she know? Hey, how could you ever know?
Unbelievable there.
That was so bad.
Yeah, she had a good plan. Hey, that's
why we let Coach tell the jokes.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that was.
We will talk to y'all. Hey, we'll see you at the about 3:20, 3:30. We'll start the watch along show at 3:30 with Coach, and see if we can break the 110,000 record that we just set this past week. So everybody tune in Saturday. We'll see you then.
What you can do is go on the YouTube channel and put that song on, The Big Hurt. That's Georgia Saturday. We're gonna put The Big Hurt.
Ooh, okay, Coach calling his shot. I love it. All right, folks. We'll see you later.